I'm a third generation on the farm. My grandfather bought it in, I think, 1970, around there. And then my father bought it around late 80s, early 90s. And around that transition, and when my grandfather owned it, is kind of when they really focused on just doing the apples. And then they bought an apple press 1990, around there, and we just kept planting apple trees year after year. I got into cider making mostly because Luigi, the guy in that picture, was always having bottles around the farm, always had bottles in the house fermenting as I was growing up. And as I got a little older, he couldn't really lift the barrels or the containers. So he would ask me, you know, can you give me a hand lifting these? I would ask questions, you know, I kind of took an interest. I was pretty young too. I was probably, 8 or 10 years old. Well, the three things you're looking for with hard cider, in general, the things you can kind of control are acids, tannins, and sugars. Most eating apples are not that unique. You know, I mean, you can taste a Cortland and a Macallan, and everyone can taste the difference. But if you had a slice of apple in front of you without the skin and you didn't know what it was and you tasted it, it would be more similar than not. But with cider apples and with crab apples and things like that, and smaller wild apples, the differences are unbelievable. Most of my ciders are wild fermented, so I just use whatever yeast is in the air, whatever yeast is on the skins of the apples. That's what ferments my ciders. And I've actually found that it's fairly consistent. 50% of the people that come in here, they have that classic story about, my grandfather always had a couple barrels bubbling away in the cellar, and one was always vinegar and one was, hard cider. And they all made it a little different. The classic thing was raisins, some type of sugar, usually brown sugar. So apples actually came here from settlers, and people, they say Johnny Appleseed or John Chapman. The truth of that, no one really knows, but he spread seeds all over, and when people were settling these East Coast areas, they were trees that were both for eating, mostly for storing though, because there was no refrigeration. So people were either cooking and making hard cider. So I think that the origin of apples in this area, and then further towards inland, was hard cider.